most people could survive without a great deal of crisis, unless they're in a hospital or a setting where they're on life support and they need that, for up to 3 or 4 days by eating what food they do have, drinking what water they do have. The water will probably become their first big problem. And then I believe that within 24 hours, you'll see every road in every city congested with people trying to get out of town. All it takes is 1 or 2 cars to run out of gas or to have a wreck, and then you've got gridlock.
Right.
Now, is that realistic or unrealistic, under or overstating it?
Well, it's absolutely, totally realistic. And you will have, you have about 4 hours where your cell phone backup power will work. You have about 3 days when the regular land-based telephone lines will work on backup power. And you'll experience what Hurricane Katrina people experienced, which is cascading failure of all central services and backup services, getting worse over the next few weeks. Only unlike Hurricane Katrina, you won't have the cavalry coming in. And they were slow on Hurricane Katrina, but you're talking 100 Katrinas happening over the country at the same time, and it's just plain not getting better, and there's no place to send the cavalry in. And in a recent tabletop EMP solar flare exercise done at the at a big defense institute in Washington, D.C., the people who were participating, and these are first responders and military guys, top-notch people in that field, the people who are supposed to know what to do, it became quite clear to them they'd be totally overloaded, and most of them would abandon their posts and go home to help deal with their family and cope and protect their family to the best of their ability. Total chaos, total breakdown of all systems, and if you think that they're under that situation, that the government will make good on its promise to make sure that diesel trucks show up at nuclear power plants consistently to keep them operating for the next year in their cooling systems, I think that's a hopeless fantasy.
How are they going to get to a power plant when the roads are going to be bumper to bumper with nothing moving? That's not going to be possible.
Well, plus if they have a moving diesel truck, we're a very well-armed society. The chances that that diesel truck would actually it past roving bandits who say, diesel is black gold, as well as food. Food and diesel will be black gold. And one thing you didn't mention is when you go to the store, you won't be able to buy anything. So if you're not planning on stealing in the store, you're SOL. You're totally out of luck. So you have to plan on either using what you've got or becoming one of the roving bands of thugs and stealing what you need, because there will be no way to buy anything.
Okay, now, just hold your thoughts for a few moments while I share a few things I believe we should consider. I know I have, and my people I know, we've already set up a scenario. Let me share this with others because you may find something of value in it. The time to buy the fire extinguisher is before the fire, not after.
Correct.
And so what I suggest, if you have a car or if you know someone who has a car, reasonably, without rushing, without panic, meet and say, where can we go? And I have a whole page of nuclear power plants around the United States. I prepared that for my film, Knocking on the Devil's Door. I wouldn't want to be near a nuclear power plant. Secondly, where would be the most likely place to survive? Well, it depends. Some people say go north. Other people say go west. Other people say go south. Based upon the time of year that this happens, and there's no way of predicting that, I wouldn't want to be in the north when there could be blizzards and cold and snow if there is no heat. And I wouldn't, and I want to be where there at least is a capacity not only to get to a place, but to sustain a life afterward. I know that not every place will be equally adversely affected. So what I've done is gotten people who are they know that you've got 6 hours, and hour 6 we start leaving the city, no matter what. And then you keep one person behind for hour 7, hour 8, hour 9, hour 10. But by hour 12, everyone in that particular procession is gone. You have in advance a backpack, and in that backpack you put your valuables, you put what you need to survive. You put a radiation suit, which is very inexpensive and small, and a radiation mask, and with cartridges that last about 8 hours each, and boots and gloves. The whole thing might cost you about $150. A backup bicycle, fold-up bike. Why? Because if you have no other way of getting someplace, ride a bike.
Right.
And then have a backup water, food, and a water filter, so at least where if you get to some place, you at least can have some safety in drinking the water, so not against radiation, but against other microorganisms cause problems. If you have already at a place that you've decided will be your destination, in advance, have it stored in a way that you or the people alone know it's there. Back up dry food supplies so that when you get there, you have a year or 2 years worth of backup food. And so that's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting people know in advance where they want to go, have people they can work with, that they can go along, and have a time that wherever you're at. I told, we have a group of people. One says, well, I'm out on Long Island. If I'm working in the city, what do? Well, have a backpack in the city and a bike in the city. Have everything, because if you think you're going to be able, when the electricity goes out, to get out to Long Island, get what you need and get back, you're going to be alone. Then you're going to have to bike it. I believe that you'll have 12 to 14 hours to get out of the city maximum, though I believe 6 hours is when ideally people are still looking for information. No one's really panicked at that point. They may be angry or start walking back from work.
Right.
And look,
they won't have figured it out by that time in general.
But at least you're getting out, and you're getting, I believe people should be going south or southwest at this point, not north, because there's an awful lot of nuclear facilities north. People are not even aware of it.
Well, there is backup fuel, so it depends. The nuclear issue will be. It depends. See, an EMP, which is electromagnetic pulse, from a terrorist nuclear event where they blew something off, say 20 to 150 miles above the planet, and it causes this pulse. And the EMP is different from the solar event because the EMP has a very short two effects, E1, E2, and E3, where the solar event is a very kind of long, slow burn that mostly fries the grid. But the EMP E1 effect is like nanoseconds. It's like speed of light, and that fries a lot of electronic chips. And especially in the complex digital systems that control our nuclear power plants, our industrial processes, basically our communication systems, all the stuff that makes our world go round, anything that has long runs of Ethernet cable connecting digital controls, that cable acts like a antenna and picks up the E1 pulse and fries the digital electronics. So your home stuff will probably be okay, but the industrial stuff that makes our world run around will be mostly cooked. So in a solar event, you don't have to worry about the nuclear thing happening right away. It's like set your watch, and 1 week later, depending, some plants have a month of fuel on hand. They're only required to have a week on hand. So you've got time on the nuclear event, but the infrastructure will be down, the gasoline will be down, the things will be degrading like they did in Katrina, day after day after day, steadily worse. So the sooner you figure things out and bug out of town, the better. Now, I just want to mention that my latest book, When Disaster Strikes, a comprehensive guide for emergency planning and crisis survival, is like the perfect handbook to help you plan this stuff and to put in your go bag, to bring with you. It's got a built-in survival guide, a built-in emergency medicine guide, a built-in first aid guide, and it also goes over all of the emergency prep things and things you need to have together. So that's my quick pitch for that. But and it has a chapter on surviving the unthinkable nuclear catastrophes, as well as a chapter on EMP and solar storms. So it'll really help you educate, and it's well organized to guide you step by step through these processes.
Well,
now, not everybody can afford the out-of-town place to go.
I understand, but look, in any circumstance, not everyone's going to survive. You can't help every single person caught in a catastrophe survive. I wish we could. Correct. You can't. I'm just giving as much information. I believe that church groups should be meeting and discussing this so that they can have some preparation among their church and synagogue and mosque families so they can help those who otherwise wouldn't be able to help themselves. I believe if you can force the government to put backup generators in all these places, they should have all these backup generators in place. That's something we can do and demand now.
That's correct.
All right.
That's correct.
I also believe that if you have a home, you can put a backup generator, but I suggest propane gas, not diesel, because diesel, you have to fill it up every about 6 hours, where propane, you could put a year's worth of propane in the ground, so at least you have it. I believe you should have you should have backup gasoline in 55-gallon drums. There's a lot you can do for you and your family and friends, so at least those you can help having a backup generator means your water will still keep going, so you'll have water out of your well. So
if you got a well,
if you got a well, but
city water, no. Well water, yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot that we can do.
Oh yeah, there's a huge amount.
But I'm also concerned that society will see the ugly side of what it's denied. You'll have massive gangs, you'll have massive robberies, you'll have massive looting, and unfortunately, law enforcement is going to be taking care of its own in most cases.
That's correct.
Especially as they got wind that, gee whiz, in a week from now it's going to get really bad. We can have, a nuclear. When they hear, when word gets out, there's going to be a nuclear explosion, you'll just have people running out of the city.
Oh yeah, when they hear that Indian Point is running out of fuel, and there's no fuel coming, and that New York City is going to be uninhabitable for generations. And that 37% of Americans, more than 1 out of 3, live within 50 miles of a nuclear plant, because they build these plants not in the cities but near, because they don't want to lose all that energy by transmitting it long distances. So all the major, highly densely populated parts of the country have nuke plants nearby. I've
done this once to explain to people the best places to go and what they should do to try to form small groups of people they're familiar with and people that they can help, because if someone doesn't have any car or transportation but someone else does, you share, you cooperate, you care for one another. And
it's a village.
Yeah,
a village to survive.
But really. I'm saying start thinking about the village now, but not when it comes crunch time, and then you have little resources left. If you start planning now with about a year ahead, I think most people who want to could do something to get out of harm's way. I already know people, based upon who came to my last workshop. There's a couple I know who have an apartment in another state that's safe, that doesn't have any nuclear around, and they did exactly all the things I suggest. They have 2 years worth of food stored. They have their valuables there. No one knows where it's at. They know how to get there, and they're going to do that. All right, and they're going to take the people in their lives that they can help. So everybody can help somebody. It's
That's
like
correct.
Help somebody, but not everyone is going to be able to be helped. And we would hope that at that point our government would help those who wouldn't otherwise be helped. But we know what they did in Katrina.
Right.
Let's do this. When you're able to come to the East Coast, let me know, and I'll plan on. We'll have a double program. We'll both offer in our insights, because I'm already creating an article about how people can create communities in safe areas that are least likely to be adversely affected, and where there's a greater opportunity to survive the future with quality of life.
Well, that sounds terrific. I don't get to the East Coast very often, but when I do, I'll be sure to coordinate well ahead so we can do something together. And
we'll put this. We have time. I don't want anyone panicking. No, I'm just saying that let's say that Matthew Stein, the engineer, and myself are wrong. That there are solar storms, but there's no big problem. Well, what is the downside of having prepared for it? All right? So if I go out of town and I'm 1,000 miles away and suddenly they get all the electricity on and everything's fine, I can turn around and come back.